This is Mike Regan with Transact's 2-minute warning for the week of March 25th. In this week's 2-minute warning, we're taking a look at the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore and asking, how will this affect supply chains? Yesterday, we all woke up to see the tragic news that a vessel struck the Francis Scott Key Bridge, resulting in the collapse of that structure and the deaths of individuals and the injuries to a lot more people. Our thoughts and prayers are with those families that have been affected by this tragedy. Now, in the wake of this event, I also received some calls from journalists and others asking, how will this affect supply chains? So we reached into our great network so we could share some important points with you. First key point is this incident has resulted in the closure of the maritime operations at the Port of Baltimore. We'll still see trucks moving in and out of the facility, but right now there won't be any vessels coming in and out until that channel is cleared and these vessels can come in and out safely. The second thing that you need to know is that the freight that was coming into and moving out of the Port of Baltimore will move to other ports on the eastern seaboard. The Port of Baltimore is the 7th largest port on the eastern seaboard and is the 14th largest port in the United States. Now, with that said, there's excess capacity at these ports and they will absorb what was moving in and out of Baltimore, but it will come at a cost to carriers and shippers. And the reason for that is because one expert pointed out is that the average drayage move in and out of the Port of Baltimore may have been somewhere in the 100 to 200 mile range, but you're going to shift that to 200, 300, 400 miles as different ports are used and that inventory and those products have to get to the same locations. Now, one of the other things that it also exposed, though, is the need for a contingency plan. And we've talked about that in several 2-minute warnings, because one of the things I've talked about in these 2-minute warnings is the topic of predictable surprises. And while not all surprises are necessarily predictable, one of the things that is predictable is that you will see surprises. Think about this. In the last 9 months alone, we've seen things like the closure of Yellow, the incidences in the Red Sea, and the Port of Baltimore. And it's not just these past 9 months. Over the past several years, we could give you several situations that caught shippers by surprise. And that's why every shipper needs to have a contingency plan. It has a risk assessment that addresses the things in your supply chain that represent vulnerabilities to you and your company. Some of you may be scratching your head and saying, how do you do that? Well, the first thing you need to do is contact me if you'd like a list of the top 10 things you can do right now to address the situation at the Port of Baltimore. It's a dynamite list. You simply need to contact me. I'll send it out to you. But the second thing that you ought to do is when you're contacting me, ask about our supply chain assessment process, because in that process, we can identify the threats and risks that could potentially impact your supply chain so that you can address them and have a safe, protected supply chain. If you're interested, send me an email, give us a call, because with each and every 2-minute warning, we're here to remind you we are on your team, we're here to help. We're passionate about seeing you be successful. Thanks for your time.